Okay, it's after 8 o'clock. We'll call our meeting to order. First up, we're looking for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up is public comment. Just step up, give your name, and you have 5 minutes. Anybody from the public?
Hello, Kevin Cotter, 519 Morris Drive. I would just like to state to this board that in the pursuit of government, the expansion of government, the expansion of taxes, in my opinion, is generally not a good idea. That continuing to expand, whether it's acquisition of land for parks or whether it's we're going to add this or we're going to add that. One of the commissioners up here at the last meeting mentioned the fact that a not insignificant portion of this county's residents make $30,000 a year or less. You also have limited income people. The continuing tax burden is not something that they can easily take on. And so to continue to say, okay, well, it's just one more straw, I think is a wrong way to do it. So I would urge them to try and go with less taxation than more. The taxes I pay are not just to the county, they're also to all of these other special millages, the state, the feds, everybody. So I would prefer that they not expand government, whether it's through acquisitions or the other things that can be hopefully done by private or by charitable organizations. Thank you.
Peter Blummuth. I'd like to point out that it was government energy in our public sector that actually created the greatest period of American prosperity that we ever had. Hopefully everybody remembers Johnson's rural electrification program. Hopefully you remember Eisenhower's interstate highway program. It was public works projects like this which created our prosperity. And I find that the constant claim at this point that government should not spend money is erroneous. Government should not spend money on things that do not benefit the people.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, public comment closed. Moving on to committee items, we have the minutes from the June 13th meeting. Looking for approval.
Support.
Motion and support. Any necessary changes? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next up, we have appointments. We have Department on Aging Advisory Council. We still have 3 open seats that we've had for some time. I'm guessing there's no nominations from the floor. I did talk with Mike this morning about maybe getting Marcy to work on that and try and round up some members for that committee, so we'll have to hold that over again. Moving on to the traffic safety program, we have 2 open seats. One is a city council representative. That name was forwarded over from the city, which would be Craig Pappen. And if we can have a motion to move his name on.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. We've got 1 health department representative, and it's a new member, and the applicant is Kelly Underwood.
I would move to send her name to the full board.
Support. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Those names will be shipped down. Thank you. Next up, we have the Region 2 Planning Commission biannual report. Morning, Grant.
Good morning, everyone. You received the report in your agenda packet, so I don't want to belabor anything. If there are any questions that anybody has, I'll be happy to try and answer those.
Very thorough report, Grant. I looked through it last night. Commissioners, any questions on anything in the report? Mr. Chairman, you look like you have a question on your mind. Not there. Okay. I think we'll be
Thank
set
you very
then.
much.
Thanks, Grant. Well, next up is the sheriff's semi-annual report, and I think it's been added to the agenda. I'm looking, I was thinking it was added to board docs, but it has not been added. If we can have IT make sure they add that when it's done, so the public will have a look at it as well.
Okay, good morning. Just to get started, inmate bookings down a little bit this year. Our population is going up and our bookings are going down. We've got longer-term sentences, local sentences on, local charges, misdemeanor violations, that type of thing, and a lot of people, pre-trial people that are staying with us a lot longer. But again, we were up to about 10,000 bookings annually. Back a few years ago, at this pace, we're going to be around 7,000, but again, our population is staying up. We entered a new service contract with a medical provider, Advanced Correctional Healthcare. They're doing a great job so far. You can see some of the numbers there. I do like that they do have a pretty solid medical staff, and they've already helped us save a little bit of money on various issues, including medications. Review some of the incidents within our facilities. We did 919 cell searches, 43 inmates with mental health crisis provided intervention in the last 6 months, a couple assaults on staff. Obviously, there's still a lot of misconducts, a lot of disruptive incidents which occurred this past 6 months. There was as you may remember, there was an escape from Chanter Road back a few months ago, and we had another plot. We discovered inmates were planning to get out. They had secreted some weapons and fashioned some weapons from some of the things in the facility, and we did discover this and kind of put the kibosh to that before anything happened. Educational programs in the jails. We've got 8 high school students and 10 GED students. 2 of them have obtained their GEDs the past 6 months out to Chanter Road. In response to the escape we had, we added some door alarms to the barracks out at Chanter Road. Also, MDOC college program, been successful. There's been a lot of people from Michigan Department of Corrections that have taken advantage of the opportunity to take college courses out at Chanter. Web-based training program, we were sending people, if you don't know, there's a funding stream for corrections officers that comes from booking fees. It gets very expensive to send people to trainings out of town and so forth, so we've gone to a pilot program that was presented by the state of Michigan, and it's worked very well. It's online training, so we've been able to exceed the training requirements for our staff by enrolling them in online courses. Again, I think they're going to expand this across the state of Michigan because of the results we're seeing. We implemented body cameras. That's been implemented for nearly a year now, and I think this has helped in reducing some of the liabilities and some of the issues that we've had within the facility. We have a camera proposal that is also ongoing. We just opened the RFPs last week, so we'll also have we previously did not have camera systems within the facility recording anything. They monitored only, so our plan is, and it's in the capital improvement plan, to have a camera system within our facility that is actually recording and documenting incidents within the facility. Just had a major overhaul to our elevator last month. Took about 2 weeks. If you don't know, we only have one elevator at the Wesley Street facility, and it gets a lot of use, and it's obviously very old, but they reworked the entire thing, so hopefully this will keep us in good stead with that for a little while to come. 496 pistol purchase permits were issued. Had 1,205 FOIAs this past 6 months. 1,170 people have gotten their fingerprints taken at our front window there, and we have one records clerk that does this, so kudos to her. That's Tara Cox. She does a phenomenal job. Very busy lady. Patrol Division, we handled over 15,000 calls for service. This includes traffic stops and all the court activity and so forth. This past 6 months, 999 arrests, 118 OWI arrests, 412 misdemeanor citations, 1,600 civil infraction citations issued. We just recently were approached by the track down at MIS, asked by Lenawee County to assist with both faster horses and other events down there, which include the races. So this is a zero-sum game. We're billing them for all of our equipment, the overtime and all that, so you won't see any increase or any requested increase in costs. You may see a higher number this year of overtime costs, but that'll be offset by the reimbursements by the track. But it's a great relationship we've enjoyed down there. Just got done with faster horses. If you don't know, there's more available, but I think they were expecting about 1,600 campers just in Jackson County, in Columbia Township actually, this past weekend. There's an unbelievable amount of people down there camping and Lord knows what else, but I don't know of any major incidents this year that were an issue. A couple of the major cases we've handled the past year, or the past 6 months, excuse me. We had a robbery out at the Vandercook, the store down on Hague Ave, assisted by JNet. They knew who the suspect was. He was picked up. He was a parole absconder and arrested and was awaiting trial. Kimmel Road break-in. Again, deputies were assisted by area police agencies and was discovered at Super 8 Motel over in Blackman Township there. Again, he's waiting a trial. We had a hunting accident you folks are probably aware of down in Liberty Township where somebody mistook a hunter as a turkey and shot him with a crossbow in the arm. Very serious injury. If you get hit in the arm with a broadhead tip, does a lot of damage, but thankfully that man is probably going to recover fully from his injuries. And that case is also in front of the prosecutor's office for review. Had a car-train accident on Willis Road at Michigan Avenue at the crossing there. Unable to explain why the man did it, but I think he thought he could beat the train. They come through pretty fast there. Obviously, he did not make it. We did a full reconstruction, just determined that the signals were working properly, and he was just either not aware or not paying attention enough to stop for that train. Also responded to the 16,000 block of Devery Road where a 4-year-old boy was going out to get the mail and was struck by a vehicle that left the scene. We're still working on that case. We have not stopped. We have very little physical evidence, but again, detectives are still working on that. Not a lot to reconstruct on that accident, but hopefully we have got a person of interest and maybe a suspect, but we'll see. And as you're probably aware, the case from Timbercrest finally came to fruition. We have 3 convictions for Cortez Butler, Rodney McKee, Clifford McKee. They were all found guilty of first-degree murder in the homicide of Francis Craig. Just so you're aware, the Cortez Butler, he was the person that actually did the killing, was on parole. I only mention that again because I know there's a push to get people on parole out sooner. And I think that's just bad business for Michigan. What we had was working better than letting him out sooner. He was a hired contract killer. Major Crimes Task Force assisted Chief Elwell a couple weeks ago out on Clark Lake Road. There was an officer-involved shooting. That case has been fully investigated. We were assisted by Michigan State Police, and the City of Jackson Police Department has been turned over to Prosecutor Jarzinka's office for review. We expect probably soon to have some word back. I know of no reason why this wasn't a completely justified shoot, but that's my opinion, and obviously the prosecutor's got to weigh in on this. Just so you're aware, we've got new boats. We liquidated 3 of our boats and got $21,000 for the old boats. We now have new boats out on the water. If you see them out there, they're probably better for navigating the lakes and in great shape right now. And we're going to try to maintain them so we can get as much time out of them as we did the previous boats, which were in service, I'm betting, more than 20 years. So, Vineyard Lake drowning, our dive team, again, it's some ongoing thing out in Columbia lately. I apologize, Chief, but again, they had a drowning out in Columbia. The dive team was able to come out and assist, and Columbia was the lead agency. but we were able to recover a 5-year-old boy who had drowned in Vineyard Lake. Unfortunately, it took 2 hours to find him just because the lakes are so murky and difficult to find anything, but they were able to recover the body, and unfortunately, he was pronounced dead at Henry Ford Hospital. JNet activity, if you have any questions about this, the script kind of reads the same as it has, except for productivity is way up at JNet. We got a great group of people out there. It still is heroin reigning supreme. The next, you see that there's marijuana on there still. We don't look for marijuana. We aren't searching for marijuana. If it's found in conjunction with the other narcotics that are discovered in a search warrant, obviously we're going to seize it unless it's a medical marijuana or they have the authority to have it for some reason. 6.5 pounds of it, but again, we're not out looking for that stuff. What's really the issue right now is the methamphetamine, which isn't killing nearly so many people, but the heroin is. What we're seeing is increasingly heroin is making its way in, and then fentanyl. Fentanyl is about 100 times more powerful than heroin, and it's cheaper. So what we're going to start seeing, I guarantee you, is the chemicals coming from China being assembled in Mexico, and heroin is going to go away, and it'll probably be predominantly fentanyl, which is a problem because you can overdose, you're more likely to overdose on fentanyl. We're thinking now, we used to think that the fentanyl was laced with the heroin. We're probably seeing pure fentanyl. So when we're seeing the overdoses, you'll go weeks without an overdose, and then all of a sudden you'll have 3, 4, 5 fatalities in a week's time. We know that what we probably have is a shipment of fentanyl that's made its way to Jackson County from Mexico. Methamphetamine, similar story. We'll probably see in the near future, I'm guessing that the Sudafed won't be the issue anymore. You won't have the Beavis and Butthead labs, is what they call them, where people are getting blown up and caught on fire because crystal methamphetamine's made a comeback. It's being produced quite readily in Mexico and again being shipped up here, and it's going to be cheaper, far cheaper than producing it yourself in a 2-liter bottle or something of that nature. So we're going to see probably more methamphetamine and more call it a heroin substitute, fentanyl. Any questions on JNet activity? JNet major cases, you can look at these. I'll make sure that these get to you all so you can review this later. I apologize that I didn't have this to you sooner, but they're working several major cases, including methamphetamine production. If you don't know, this is directly connected to the officer-involved shooting. Methamphetamine is to the officer-involved shooting down in Columbia. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's directly contributed to the death of that man or not, I couldn't tell you, but there's clearly methamphetamine use there. That's pretty clear. Again, all the JNet major cases, if you look down at the bottom, search warrant, they conducted a search warrant, got 3 pounds of crystal meth at one residence. So that's going to be the way things are headed. And it'll be, problem is the heroin users are using the crystal meth and vice versa. One brings you up, the other brings you down. And if you're up for 3 days, you need to come down from something and vice versa. So kudos to our volunteers. Mounted deputies put in 610 hours this past 6 months. Reserves 283 hours. Other volunteers gave nearly 100 hours this past 6 months to the office. Dick Riska has done a great job. He's filing all of our gun permits and logging them into the system and assisting at the front window. Just a great group of people that has really helped us out. Grant update, Jackson County received $76,000 in fiscal year 14 and $74,000 in fiscal year 15 from the Homeland Security Grant. A variety of projects came from that. $31,000 went to the Emergency Management Performance Grant. That's the grant which partially funds Jason Breining's position. He's the Emergency Management Program Coordinator for Jackson County. Some of the things that were purchased under these grants, trauma kits, which includes tourniquets and that type of thing, and some of the compresses that are supposed to stop bleeding and so forth. Thinking of our personnel, obviously it could be used on anybody, but obviously concerned about the safety of our personnel, especially in the rural areas where there isn't immediate access to medical care. bought portable radios for the dispatch center. Those portable radios are for, in the event that the dispatchers had to leave the dispatch center, they could set up at another location, use portable radio to communicate with units in the field. And then we, cell phone data forensic analysis equipment, which we purchased and is available for use from anybody in the county, any law enforcement agency. It's able to download cell phone data so that if we get somebody on a search warrant or have a cell phone that's, we don't know the owner, or we do know the owner and we want information off it, we get a search warrant and we can download that data using this device. And then probably the biggest project we've got is the Code Red emergency notification system. I appreciate all of you pushing that system out there. I know I heard Julie speaking of it on the radio, and really appreciate it. It's very important. I think this is the direction things are going. A lot of people still depend on the warning sirens, but this is really the direction we need to go, so that if we had an event like what occurred in Kalamazoo, we can notify people. I think we had nearly 30,000 people signed up a few weeks ago, so that's a pretty good number. That'll get the word. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the community? I know I had a constituent reach out to me with some concerns, and I simply forwarded them to you and the county administrator. They were concerned about their privacy and things of that nature. Would you share some information? I think you and Chris,
Sure.
Undersheriff, handle that.
It's an opt-in system, so you're not automatically on it. So a lot of people, when they first, and I apologize, the lady that did the announcement when this first went out spoke incredibly fast, and especially if you weren't ready for what was being said, it was too much, and it was too fast, and it was not as simple as it probably could have been. We did field literally hundreds of calls. Jason Browning did a phenomenal job of making sure every complaint he got, he called those people back, because a lot of people thought it was some sort of a scam. There's so many scams going on out there, so they assumed that it was something that wasn't legitimate. And thanks to pushing things out on the radio and the news and in the papers, we were able to allay some of those fears and make calls back to all of those people. And I think he said he made nearly 300 calls in one day and got people signed up. So a little confusion. In the long run, though, it worked out very well. We aren't getting those complaints anymore. We'll not notify them again. We may have another push, maybe next year when it comes time for severe weather season again, just to try to get more people on board. But I think the state now is looking at a system like this statewide, which ours is paid for, we already have it, but to do the very same thing that they tried to do, that they couldn't do in Kalamazoo when there was a shooter going around and we had, no way of notifying people. So did that answer your question?
Yeah, so in other words, an individual can choose to not participate in this program or to participate. Yep. And in the case that the person reached out to me, is they said, I'm on the no-caller list, I don't, blah, blah, blah. And my understanding is after you guys followed through and actually gave them the accurate information they needed, they chose to stay enrolled in the program, so.
Yeah, the first call was you weren't in it until you opted in, and I'm thankful that, too, we've got it on the county website. I think it's still on there. I believe it's still on our website, so people can log on and get their phones registered. And the best thing about this is you can register it by device so that even if you're out of town or maybe somebody who only lives here part of the year, they can know that if there's bad weather coming through or some critical incident, they'll know about it.
Yeah, that icon still is on the homepage of the county
Good.
website.
I think that's important. Any other questions regarding Code Red? All right. Trainings and exercises with Emergency Management Department. Skywarn Weather Spotter training, as always, conducted in the spring. We had a statewide tornado drill in April. That's always a little bit confusing, but it brings attention to the severe weather issue. And then obviously which we also do annually, host a pipeline, partners in pipeline education for local first responders, fire, police, EMS personnel. Emergency response plans for long-term care facilities were reviewed and hazard vulnerability assessments were completed on these locations. They're required to have their own plans, but we still have to follow up and make sure they're getting them done. Working on a variety of other hazmat issues, as you know, worked closely, and I think that's the next slide. And kudos to Jason Browning, too. He completed his PEM, Professional Emergency Manager designation, which is required by the state of Michigan if you're going to be in that role. So he completed that this past 6 months, and he is full-fledged now. Still doing a variety of exercises, as we do all the time with the active shooter training in the schools. Helped enroll there's a program called Student Tools for Emergency Planning, STEP, to help students how to prepare, and hopefully they share that message at home. And then just pushing the severe weather notifications in National Preparedness Month. You're probably aware of this situation, been involved in a lot of meetings with Karen Kaufman and all the stakeholders involved with the Mishner Plating Facility. That cleanup is just about done at both locations. Obviously, a real mess on our hands. Thankfully, the EPA was able to remediate most of that. Also did an Ebola tabletop. There's a list of our calls for service. Again, I'll share this document with Delane so that she can get it to you folks. You can review all the numbers here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me. Most of these are pretty consistent with what we've seen in the past. 911 highlights, real quick. We sent some dispatchers to career day at East Jackson Elementary. Working with other counties, still talking about ESI-net, a regional network, potentially statewide network, to interact with other dispatch centers across the state. I don't know if that's something that's probably down the road a ways. It's going to require fiber optic network across counties in a real web of fiber optics, but I don't know how soon that will come to fruition, if at all. Obviously, the ballot passed. I've got meetings today with Don Bustamante from IT to discuss some of the technology aspect of what we're hoping to do with the new funding that will help improve things down in the 911 center. And obviously, the shift leader positions were approved. And we've talked with Mr. Martinchek from HR and worked out a plan to get shift leaders and promote people, hopefully from within. If not, we'll go outside and promote people to those roles in the 911 center, so we'll have supervision there, hopefully 24/7. And we just reprogrammed all the radios countywide to try to do the best we can to enhance the system we have. Any questions for me?
Sheriff, I just got one that popped up when I saw the picture of the boats. Where are we at with the old boat barn? Is that what you're still using on Blackstone, and we in some kind of plan to replace that, or?
We do. We have, and I think there's stakes out there now at Channer Road. There's already an architectural drawing for the new boat barn, which will replace obviously the old one, which was purchased by, or committed to purchase by MDOT. So we'll have a new, if you go into the Channer Road facility on the east end of the property is where the proposed new boat barn will go. And again, there's some architectural drawings which kind of show you, and I can make those available if you haven't already seen them.
Chairman Shotwell.
First, Steve, thank you and all law enforcement for the effort you guys put forward in protecting and serving the community. You and Chief Elwell, I think it's very important that we recognize that, one. But two, I've had conversations with Summit Township and John Warden about an urgent vehicle that they are looking for a location to park it. Mm-hmm. Have you had any conversations with him yet on that vehicle and storage of it?
He has not contacted me yet, but that may be an opportunity for us to do that out at Channer Road.
They want it strategically placed because the idea is it's to go and help first responders. Bring water, bring equipment.
Oh, this is the canteen vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. He's talked to me 2 or 3 times, and I wanted to mention it to you in your office just to.
Okay. Yeah, he hasn't
Heads
spoken
up.
with me that yet, but I will certainly entertain that and maybe seek him out this week.
Great. Thank you, as always.
Commissioners, any other questions this year? Phil?
In Personnel and Finance today, we're going to be looking at approving money for a renovation of your lobby.
Mm-hmm.
Does that currently have video in the lobby?
No, there is no video in the lobby.
As part of this?
In an ideal world, maybe. I'd be satisfied if we could secure it just a little bit better and instead of, it's kind of a fishbowl right now. But I guess video, especially if we're putting video in anyway, so it wouldn't be too difficult to add that to the, at a minor cost, I would guess.
Well, I would think with the current
Climate.
climate could be useful. I didn't know if you even had it there yet or if you already did, but.
We did not add that to the bid, but it's certainly something to consider. Maybe we'll just, I'm sure we can probably tag on to the current project in the jail for minimal cost. But that's a good idea.
I would like to see you do it. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Julie?
Sheriff, on your report, you're reporting to us semi-annually. I'd be curious to know how how the heroin numbers today that you presented, a graph or a chart from the last couple of years, you know. I mean, I'm going to make the assumption that they're increasing significantly, but that would be just one of the questions I would have, how.
Okay. I'll
what
see if I can
those
get
numbers look.
something from Janet that shows that trend, if in fact there is a trend.
Sure, to have that factual information. Thank you.
Sure, yep.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
And Mike, you'll make sure that that gets on board docs for us? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Next up is J.C. Dot with a Greenwood Road and Step Ladder Road Culvert Replacements Award. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're asking for you guys to approve our recommendation to award this is a 2 culvert package we put together for Greenwood and Step Ladder. The low bid was J. Sebastian out of Springport. Currently, the Step Ladder Road culvert is open. It's one that we have chip seal going on this year, and we found a hole in the culvert preparing for construction. And the other one is Greenwood that is closed currently and has a detour set up. So upon recommendation to send it on and get approval at the next meeting, we will get these repaired, installed, and get Greenwood back open and Step Ladder replaced so we can chip seal it this year. Any questions?
Okay, so you're looking for approval for the bid of $65,593.30 to J. Sebastian Trucking?
Correct.
And we'd be looking for a motion to send it on to the full board? Motion and support. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you on that one. Next.
All right, the next thing we have is an abandonment. This is in the Sunset Beach plat. It is actually a second abandonment by this resident. He had abandoned a portion of the alleyway previously, and he's just looking to continue that to encompass and combine all those lots. Upon your guys' recommendation to send it to full board and approval there, then he'll have to go to circuit court actually to get it all replatted and done on his end, but we're looking for you guys to make a motion to send it on to full board.
So this isn't redoing the last one, it's an additional to the last one?
It's an addition, yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure why it wasn't done then, but.
Commissioners, do you have any questions on this? And if not, we'd be looking for a motion to send it to the full board. Anybody make a motion? Support. Motion and support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. It'll be sent to the full board.
All
And
right.
then lastly, we have the monthly report.
Yes, and I will do the engineering part, and then Bob will come up and do operations. Thanks, Joe. Well, stay up here in case they have questions about projects. Don't go far. All right, so engineering is very busy with our projects right now. I'm going to skip over Fifth Street first. Robinson Road's going really smooth out there. We have the driveways removed. The curbs are,
Coming Friday.
yeah, I knew I had up to that. Getting placed Friday. We haven't had that many calls. There's a lot of traffic still out there, but it seems to be going smoothly out there.
That's why Sheriff Rand's manpower is down there writing tickets left and right. He has 3 cars stopped out there at a time writing speeding tickets. He's not even doing the through traffic people because there's just way too many of them. And he says that the cars are driving by him so fast and tell them to get out of the way so they can get through. And it's really slowing production down, probably 15 to 20% with all of the traffic that we have out there. It's just amazing. They're driving across yards, and even the residents are worried about the workers' safety.
Is that just restricted out there, or is it closed? No.
No, a local traffic, but you got the huge subdivision, that Westchester subdivision, and then Timbercrest, which is the other one, and that's the only way those people have in and out of there. The apartment complex, Foxfire, they can go out the backside on Main Street, and they can use that, and they're supposed to use that, but they want to come up to Robinson and move the barrels out of the way, and then they drive down Robinson Road.
And we have dropped the speed limit to 25 for during construction for the safety of the workers. So that's what they're ticketing on.
But they're moving good, trenching is done, the widening for the third lane is done, and Dan's out there staking for curb and gutter, and that's scheduled for Friday. Some of it, there's 15,000 feet of it, so it's gonna take a number of days to do all of the curb and gutter.
But the project is going well.
So the timeline's still, hopefully school,
Yeah.
which is the middle of August now. Soon.
We're still on,
Yep,
there hasn't been an
still on.
extension of time, so to the best of our ability, it is still on task for the completion we told you guys to begin with. The health department parking lot, are they paving today?
Putting the top course on today, so at the end of the day, it'll all be topped, new pavement markings on there for all the parking spaces. Gonna wrap it up, the first truck's probably on his way down right now.
So it'll be striped,
Pardon me?
it'll be striped today.
Oh, yeah, oh, yes, it'll be striped today.
Yep. So that project,
Landscaping's all in, you've seen the trees
Yeah.
and the shrubs, and
Looks very
it's all
nice.
symmetric out there, because the trees are lined up, and so it's
Was there,
really nice.
just one question for me, is there a plan to put some boulders or something in the grass area beyond the, north side by where dispatch is there? I know there was talk about that at one time, as I recall. Maybe not part of the project, but. You're sorry? Oh,
they,
No, not by us.
okay. I'll get with Mike on that.
boulders, yeah, maybe Mike. We can work with you to get some if. Boulders.
Yeah, I
by
think there was
dispatch.
talk at one time for security reasons about putting some boulders up,
Those are there.
perimeter.
They're currently there.
Between they should be there. Let's see, along where, oh, would that be, where it separates the grass from.
Oh, yeah, those are all there, yes.
Okay, I didn't recall seeing any between the parking lot
Uh-huh.
and that corner of the building, but maybe I missed it.
And there's actually going to be.
Oh, expecting
we moved the
mothers or
car-
whatever.
And we moved the
Like at the mall?
carport area over too, closer to the building, so that looks a lot nicer now.
Any other questions on that one? All right, the preventive maintenance, that, actually, we're setting that pre-con up for hopefully this Wednesday. Michigan, Aaron's with Michigan Paving, right?
Michigan Paving.
Yeah, Michigan Paving got that bid, so we'll get that. That's a chip seal with some skip paving on there. We'll get that one going as soon as possible. We'll have an update next meeting as far as schedule for that. Traffic counts are ongoing throughout the county. And then culverts, a couple months ago, we had before you guys the Ayers Road bid package. That culvert has been installed. It's a nice timber box culvert there that has been paved over. It's completed. If the shoulders aren't on there yet, so they will be within the next couple days. And then Fifth Street. Fifth Street is going. We are working on, there's a lot of different concerns that are being raised throughout construction, ranging from the curb to now the placement of the lights, not being on one side of the railroad versus where they are. So we're working through all these concerns. We are trying to get prices so we can bring forth what the cost would be to do what the businesses out there are wanting done, and we'll just have to work through it that way. I'm working on getting a price for additional. There's 821 feet of curb that's left out there, so we're debating on if we can remove it and just get all brand-new curb out there. So different things are popping up there. We're trying to work through it. We have another public meeting Wednesday at 10:30 at the township there to update the businesses on the progress and try to communicate and keep that line of communication open with them for questions. Any questions on that project?
Is there any new developments or any update on the Moon Lake Road Bridge?
On what one?
Moon Lake.
Oh, Moon Lake Road?
Yeah.
Actually, on my way here, I was thinking about that we need to get the RFP done to get a bridge consultant designing that here in the next month or so. So once we get that design, then the plan is to request MDOT to move the funding forward. If we can get the design, which I think we can, hopefully maybe late next year, we can we can get the funding moved to next year, hopefully, and start construction, but no promises. We're trying to push it to next year.
Thank you.
Any other projects? We are shifting gears, engineering shifting gears over the next week or two to start doing projects for next year, including the trail, so that we can hit all our deadlines for that. All right, I'll let Bob talk.
Thank you. Morning, Bob.
Good morning. Just going to hit a few highlights of what we're doing operationally, and if you have any questions, I'll answer anything you got that I can. Our chip seal program is going to start approximately the 1st of August, so probably that first week of August. I believe we have 44 miles worth of local road chip seal to do. We're projecting that'll take us 16 to 19 good working days to complete. So hopefully, we're hoping we can get it done in the month of August, would be ideal, but it'll be in that time frame anyway. Cranbrook Lane is, I'm not sure if you're up on that or not, that's basically a drainage issue that we have with it. It's a subdivision that's up off of Lansing Ave, north of town, and it's really just kind of one of those flat subdivisions that it's very hard for things to drain, and as people have filled in ditches and everything over the years, it's just been a nightmare. So we've gone in there here recently, shot the entire thing to figure out the flow lines, and we've gone in and reditched everything. We've replaced probably a dozen driveway culverts and a few cross culverts to make everything flow the way it should. We're just getting ready to probably wrap that up in the next week or two to replace the driveway cuts that we made and all that kind of stuff. But I guess just in case you're getting comments or questions on what's going on or how long it's going to be, that's what we're doing with it. And like I said, hopefully another week or two and we'll be done. We'll hydroseed it when we're done, so everybody should be happy, other than their ditches are dug out again. But that's the only way we can make water flow there. So next thing is dust control. We're starting the grading for a second round of brine and dust control for the county. The first round, I believe we started in Grass Lake and worked counterclockwise around the county. This time we're going to start in Norval and work clockwise. So it's kind of the ones that got it last time, and we kind of had quite a few complaints that it was dusty for that much longer. They're going to get the brine first, and it'll go the opposite direction this time. So kind of even out who gets it when. Other than that, we're continuing to patch potholes as normal. We're slowly catching up on some, but it's going to be quite a while before we get totally caught up on potholes. Our local paver patching program has gone extremely well, much better than any of us ever imagined that it would this year. This was the 19,000 tons that we are applying to the local roads. By all estimates, we will be done this week with that. If we need to, we might work into Thursday, but that's going to allow us to lay pretty much the entire 19,000 tons by money, because we had to lay some with a contractor that cost us more, so it won't be quite, it'll be 18,000 and some odd tons by the money amount. But they've laid it well. They're on average of $75.35 a ton to lay. Our contractors are charging $75. So we're only 35 cents a ton on average over what our contractors are laying right now. So, and that's with us mobilizing small patches here and there. So they've done extremely well. I can't say enough for them. And if we did have the asphalt plant that Christopher has brought to you before, our estimates would be on that same tonnage, the savings that we would have saved about $200,000 if we had the plant and got the asphalt from there instead of buying it from a vendor. That equals out to about an extra 4,200 tons, which would be another 220 tons per township, per se, that we could do with that kind of money. And really, that's about all I got today. Anybody got any questions?
Commissioners, any questions about? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry. Can I clarify something real quick? I jumped the gun. Moon Lake Road, though, we don't have funding yet. We are expecting, fingers crossed, to get it from talking to people, so I just want to clarify for the record. That's not until November we find out, but we're working ahead to get design, and then if we get funding for the 2019, I've gotten confirmation that we can request to move it forward. So that's, my thoughts came out before I said the whole picture there.
So
Does that make
we're-
sense?
Yes, we're looking at 2018 possibly to get it repaired? Moving 2019 funds back a year?
2019 is the funding year that we applied for. And I talked to Keith Cooper at MDOT, and he said that it's never a problem with them to ask for funding. They have bridges that get moved all the time. So we could request, if we have design done this winter, which is my plan, to push it through and try to get it constructed next year if we have funding.
Okay, thank you.
It is then, as long as MDOT has the funds for 2017, but he was pretty confident that if we get awarded, we could put it in 17 or 18,
Thank
just
you.
depending on our design, so, thank you.
Thanks for the clarification. Okay, that gets us through the regular business. The claims are making their way around. And we'd be looking for a motion to approve the claims. Motion and support. Questions or comments? We're down to me mentioning other minutes in the August reporting schedule. I can call for public comments before we vote. Any public comments? Hearing none, that only leaves us the claims to vote on. And of course, you can follow up with any questions to the administrator afterwards, too. So, with that said, we have a motion and a support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the same. Motion carried. Takes us down to committee member comments. Hearing none of those, we're adjourned. Thank you.